everyone, I am Murphy Gray Hunter. I am Gia's grandmother on her mother's side. So that means her mother is one of my children. So she wanted me to make this video talking to you guys about fairies and the little people who live in the walls of my home. So number one, if you hear this huge booming and crashing, it's because we have a thunderstorm going on right now. And it doesn't seem like it because if you look, it's super sunny outside, but it is. There's thundering and lightning and lots of rain, which I love all those things. If you hear a tweet, 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 like in the distance, that's a little fake bird that I have in my room, and it senses movement and it wouldn't shut up, so I threw it in the other room so it'll be quiet. So hopefully we won't hear it. Alright, so let's get on with this video. So when Gia asked me to make this video, I was super excited to make this video for you guys because I absolutely love fairies. I have loved fairies all of my life. So let me just, Mrs. Garcia sent over some questions that she wants me to answer. So before I start with those questions, I think it's very important that you guys understand where my belief comes from in believing in fairies and little people. So I'm a practicing witch. That doesn't mean witches are green face, big old noses with warts on us and we eat children. That is not what witches are. You know the witch you see from Wizard of Oz, which, you know, she's one of my favorite, but that's a really bad representation of a witch. Witches are everyday people, men and women, and children. When we have children that are witches, we call them witchlings. Now, what does it mean to be a witch? Being a witch is to be a healer. It means to be a teacher. It's a seeker, a giver, and a protector of all things. As a witch, I believe in gods and goddesses. I believe in magic, and I believe in other realms. As witches, we celebrate 8 Sabbats, which are, you consider holidays. For example, your Christmas is our Yule. Your Easter is our Ostara. We have 8 that we celebrate. In history, we love to study history and things in the past. The past is very important to us as witches. And empathy, we have a very deep, we can relate very deeply to other people, and we can really relate to other people's emotions. And family, we tend to support one another, whether it is blood family or non-blood family. You know, sometimes you have really good friends and you consider them your family. So like that, we support each other. Animals, we love and cherish all life. For myself, I'm vegan. I don't eat anything that comes from animals. I don't milk, cheese, butter, meat, ice cream, anything that comes from an animal, I do not eat. You don't have to be vegan to be a witch. It's just for me that I value all life. I choose not to eat animals. Nature, we honor and respect our universe and we love Mother Nature. Creativity, we love to craft. Now I can't draw for nothing, but I can, oh, the electricity went out and came back on. With crafting, I can't draw, but I can use a glue stick and stencils and paint. Truth. We take, as far as truth's concerned, we take responsibility for our lives, and we understand that everything that we do has consequences. And help. We love to help others, and we also think of ourselves. So, I wanted to make sure that you guys understood what being a witch means to me and what it is to be a witch, because I don't want anyone to go home thinking that a witch is an evil thing. You know, we don't just cast spells and hurt people and do evil things. A lot of us witches do very great things. You know, we help heal people and help heal the world and give back and make medicine and just do all kinds of great things. And our love for Mother Earth is just enormous. So, with me being a witch is one of the reasons why I have such an open mind. I believe, and believing in other realms. So when I say I believe in other realms, the other realm as far as believing in fairies and little people, I believe in them 100%. So let me answer the questions, and then I'll just kind of talk. I'll just kind of like elaborate a little bit on those. So, the first section she has is our magical family. Can you tell me about a time that you saw something magical? There are so many times that I've seen so many magical things, but I will relate this to the fairies and the little people. There was, I saw the little people in my house before I saw fairies, okay? My husband actually was the first one to see fairies here in our house. My husband was outside trying to scare an armadillo from underneath our deck. Well, he was on our deck and he was trying to scare it away. So he was outside trying to make a homemade flamethrower to scare it away. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're going to blow up the house. But anyway, so he was out there doing that, and he comes in and he has this really surprised look. Now, my husband is not a practicing witch. He doesn't, he supports me 100%, but, you know, he and I are completely different. You know, he likes to learn about everything that I do, but he doesn't participate in it. Anyway, so he comes in and he, long story short, he said he saw a fairy. And I'm just like, are you messing with me? Are you messing with me? And he's like, no, I'm not messing with you. I saw a fairy outside. She was this big and she was looking at me. Because he was trying to find the armadillo. He's leaning over the deck like this, over the deck. And he's looking for the armadillo. And he has on those, he has on this flashlight that's on his forehead. It's like a headband. And there's a flashlight right here. And so he was looking, he said he like heard something in front of him. So he looked up, and when he looked up, the light shined right on the fairy. And it was a little woman fairy. And she had wings, and he said there was a light around her. But he couldn't tell because, you know, he had his lamp right on her. So he says that she looked at him, he looked at her, and she flew off. And when she flew off, he said this stream of white light came from behind her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not messing with me. So I jumped out of bed and I pushed him out of the way. Get out of my way. And I ran outside, and of course, it was gone. So I was really disappointed that I had not seen a fairy. But then sometimes, like weeks had passed, I was sitting in my living room and I was watching TV, and I thought I saw something underneath our entertainment center. You know, I thought I saw something behind the TV, and I looked, and it was like so fast. It was like a little person, and it was gone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I losing my mind? What did I just see? So, okay, so then I really didn't, you know, I couldn't really figure that out. Then I was sitting, a few days later after that, I was sitting on this couch that we have, like, it's like a chair. And I was sitting back talking to my sister on the phone, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm just talking to her. We have 54 trees. We have 54 oak trees in our yard. And I'm just sitting there looking up at the trees, and just during the daytime, and I'm just inside looking outside. And we're talking. I'm like, listening. I saw a little person, like this is my arm is a tree stump, right? And I saw a little person running like this, running across the tree. It ran, and then it jumped, and it went onto the other limb. I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm like screaming on the phone, telling my sister, I just saw a little person, had little shoes, little brown pants, and I couldn't see the face, but I saw a little hat and its arms, and it was just running. A little person. Okay, so then I'm like, there's people in this house. I know there's little people in this house. So then, that's the first time I physically saw it like that clear, because in our home, I have seen like really fast. Now, little people move very, very fast. And so when you think you saw something and it's gone, and you think like, I think I just saw somebody run across the room. It's a little person. My daughter, she's almost 10, and she was in the classroom, because I homeschool, so I have a classroom. She was in the classroom playing in there, And she said she heard music and giggling coming from the wall. And she could hear it, but she couldn't see them. So she put her ear next to the wall, and she could hear music and laughter, like giggling, coming from the other side of the wall. So we have a 2-story house, and I think the little people are in our attic, and they move in the walls. Now, sometimes at night, the house is very quiet. We live out here in the country, so it's very quiet out here. You know, there's no traffic, no cars or anything, so it's very, very quiet. And I can hear, like, noise in the walls. Now, we don't have any openings for squirrels or anything like that. And I even have the pest man come and look just to make sure, you know, because I don't want to make sure, wanted to make sure I wasn't, like, you know, Looney Tune, you know, like losing my mind. And he's like, nope, there's no holes or anything up here. And so, anyway, so I think the little people are in our walls. And so, for me, that was the time that I saw something magical, was when the very first time I saw something magical was seeing a little person running through the trees and in our house. I've seen them a few times in the house. And I'll talk a little more about little people here in a minute. Question 2. What do I know about fairies? Oh my gosh, what do I not know about fairies? If I sit here and talk to y'all about fairies, we will talk for hours. So I'm going to try to shorten this up. Fairies are not what you probably think they look like. They don't look like Tinkerbell. You know, you see those cute little fairies looking like Tinkerbell. They don't look like Tinkerbell at all. Just like there are different shapes and sizes and colors of people, same with fairy world. Fairies come in different species, like we have different races of humans. You know, we have Native American, we have Hispanic, we have Caucasian, you know, we have African American, we have Jewish, you know, we have all different types of races in our as humans. And as far as fairies are concerned, there are different species of fairies. So fairies and little people and elves and trolls all go together. Trolls and goblins all go together. I've never seen a troll or a goblin. I hope I don't, just from what I've heard about them. But that's a whole nother story. But as far as fairies, there are very many different types of species of fairies. So what I mean by species, you have some that are just tree fairies. You have some that are water fairies. You have some that are flower fairies. You have some that are animal fairies. You know, you have some that are earth fairies. And every fairy has a particular job that it is, that it has to do. You have some fairies that help the trees grow. You have some that help the animals grow. Fairies are very linked to Mother Nature. So if they see you outside planting flowers, giving seeds to the birds, picking up trash, just taking care of Mother Nature, taking care of the environment, that is a way of saying thank you to the fairies. You know, they love that. And so that is one fact about fairies, is that there are many different species. And so elves are also a species of fairies, but it's a little bit different. You know, elves do have the pointed ears. They do not have wings, but they do work with the fae. The fae is what we call the fairies. We call them the fae. Okay, so also the question 3 was, where do they come from? So fairies come from a place called Elframe. We call it fairy. Elframe is another realm. Okay. Now it's kind of hard to describe how we get there. So when I want to work with the fae, work with the fairies, I have to go into a meditation. So it's kind of like you just find a nice comfortable chair or a bed, lay there, and you put yourself into you clear all of your mind, and you're going to go into, sorry, I have a hair on my face, and you go into a meditation state. So once you're going to go with them in your spirit. I know it might be a little difficult to understand now, because you guys are a little young, but that is how we go into fairy. We can't go in like, hey, because it's a completely different world. You can't get there through your body. It has to be through your spirit. And so imagine yourself, like your spirit, coming out of your body, being lifted and taken to another place through meditation. And that's how you go into fairy. Now, there are places like this. I'm going to show you a picture. Now, a lot of people have these in their trees, and they look like little fairy doors. This one is on my property. This is a picture of a tree. You see that there? It's kind of bright. Let me see if I can. There you go. That is a tree on my property, and it looks like it has a little fairy door, right? Well, there's a lot of trees that have these on there, and fairies are very connected to oak trees and to willows. Those are two of the favorite trees that fairies love to work with. Now, some say that they use those particular doors as a gateway. You ever heard of like the Bermuda Triangle, how some people say in theory it's kind of like a doorway into another world, like another dimension? It's kind of like that. I have never actually been through that. When I work with a fairy, I go into a meditation. It's almost like going to sleep and going into a dream state. And you go into there with fairies, and they come and get you, and then they bring you back. I know it might seem like a lot, but I'm just trying to like tell you as easy as I can. Also, what else about fairies? Now, if the fairies pick you, you can't just say, oh, I want to work with the fairies. It doesn't really work out like that. The fae have to come and pick you to work with. Fairies will work with humans, but only certain humans. They will pick certain humans to use as a way to get messages that they want to say, or to do something, like do particular things. Like there are many artists, like for example, there is a musical artist, her name is Anya, and she has told in many interviews that she works with the fairies, and that the reason, like some of her music, she gets inspired by fairies, that they are the ones who are telling her these messages, and she turns them into music. So her music talks about fairy world. There are many artists like that paint pictures and draw pictures that work with the fairies. Some fairies use humans to help heal, whether it's healing other humans or healing nature or healing animals. Or in my case, helping me to help other people understand what fairies are and their purpose here. If you want to invite fairies into your house, there is a ritual that you have to go through to invite the fae into your house. But you have to be careful when you are inviting the fairies in, because as much as I love fairies and they are in my house, they have a tendency of taking things that don't belong to them, and they'll bring it back when they're good and ready, and when they bring it back, it's not really where it should be. Gia's mom was here, and she was in my pantry where the washer and dryer is, and she goes, oh my gosh, Mom, isn't this your ring? My husband bought me an emerald ring, and I put it up because I just don't want to lose it. I don't ever wear it because I'm afraid I'm going to lose this. I put it in a safe place, and it is up high where I can't even reach it myself. I have to get a step stool. So no one could have found it or known where it was, and there it was. And they have taken several things, like they've taken books, they've taken some of my crystals, they've taken my jewelry. Sometimes they bring it back and sometimes they don't. So above certain parts of my house, certain doors, I have little baggies. These little baggies are, it kind of sets a boundary, letting them know that they are not allowed in this room. So there are certain places that they are not allowed in. My guest room, Jade's room, my husband's man cave, our bedroom. But anywhere else in the house, they are free to be in. Sometimes when I'm making videos, because I make YouTube videos, and I make videos for other things that I do, some of my good friends tell me that they see the fairies flying all around me. And they do. You can see them flying all around. Again, fairies do not look like Tinkerbell. I'm going to show you what fairies look like. All right. I know it's a lot. I'm trying to see what I can give you, but I could literally talk to you about fairies for hours and hours and hours. So this man, this photographer, went out to shoot pictures. He's a photographer. He's also a professor at a college, and he was taking photos. And when he went home and looked through his photos, he realized what he thought it was bugs until he really looked at it. And what he had shot was actual fairies. Can you see that? That's the professor there. And these are what he shot. See that? Okay. Now let me show you. This is a close-up of the photo that he took. Do you see the little arms and legs? So adorable. Okay. So, one time, let me show you a few others before I show you what I have. This is another person who caught pictures. They took pictures of, they thought were bugs, and they're actual fairies. Now, these are real photos. Here's another photo that someone took out at night of a fairy just flying. And I showed this to my husband. He goes, that's exactly what I saw. He says, I saw, it was a fairy. You can see its legs and its wings. And he said, and it was lit up. Okay, here is another picture of another person who took a picture of a fairy in their garden. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what the pictures that I have. My daughters and I, we were out doing some stuff, and since I'm a photographer myself, I'm always taking pictures, but this was taken from our phone. And let me show you what we got. This is one of the photos that we took. Do you see the little fairy there? This is our photo. Let me zoom it in. See the little legs and arms and wings. Okay. Here's another picture. Now, these were taken we were about an hour away from Austin at a place. And what they were doing here was protecting us, because we were in a spot that we should not have been. And they were protecting us. I don't know, I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can see its little legs. You can see its legs and its arms. Can you see that? And its face and its wings. Just amazing. I absolutely love fairies. So yeah, those were some pictures that we took. Here's another one that I blew up as much as I could. It was flying. And you know that it's this picture here, and I just kind of blew it up. Fairies fly completely different than what bugs do. You know, like, you know, a butterfly, if you've ever really looked at a butterfly flies a certain way. Dragonflies, they fly certain ways. Fairies fly completely different. They fly in swiftly and very precise. They don't just kind of like, a butterfly kind of goes like this everywhere, right? Like this. But fairies fly precisely like they can control their speed. They can control how they turn up and down, you know, in and out. Like very, very precise on their flying ability. It's just really neat. One time we were outside, and one of my other granddaughters, she was on the trampoline with my daughter, and I was sitting on the deck step, and they were on the other side. So I was sitting, say, right here, and they were right here on the trampoline, and this was grass in between us. And we're sitting there talking, and they had been jumping for a while, so they were tired, and we were just sitting there, and we were eating watermelon or ice cream, one or the other. And we were talking to each other back and forth across like this, and all of a sudden, a little fairy comes flying like this, real slow, in between us like this. And so this is what we're doing. We're going, like, just like looking at it, and it flew very, very slow right across us, right in between us like that. And then it went really slow, and then it just straight up into the trees. And it had on a blue outfit, a baby blue outfit. And so I told my daughter, we looked at each other, did you see that? Did you see that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I saw that. And my granddaughter at the time, she was 5, she goes, I just saw a fairy. And I said, yeah, what did you see? It had on blue. And so, like, she saw it, my daughter saw it, I saw it. So they are very comfortable in our home. I did invite them into our home. I have a fairy door for them. Now, they do not need an actual door to come through, but it's just a way for them to come through, and you're showing them that they have an entrance and they have a way to go out. Fairies do not need your permission to come into your home. They will come in your home, but it is nice if you welcome them in. And that means that when you welcome them in, you have to do things. I leave things for the fairies. I, leave flowers. I leave, I buy honey, and I don't eat honey myself because I'm vegan, but I do leave it for them. Bees are very, very, very important to the Fae. There are certain animals that are very important to the Fae, and one of those is bees. Huge, huge. Like, if you kill a bee for no reason, it really upsets them. Okay, so when you see a bee, try not to kill it, just like shoot it away. They really love hummingbirds. They ride on a hummingbird's back. And they always say if you have hummingbirds in your garden, that is considered very lucky. And if you have hummingbirds, most likely you have fairies also in your garden. And they love butterflies. And they also love hares, which are rabbits. They love rabbits. So those are just another little fact on fairies. Okay, let me see. Let's ask, what's the other question? I'm sorry, I'm getting off track on the questions. And as far as the little people, number 4, what do I know about the little people who live in the walls? I kind of already told you about the little people, but one time we wanted to see if there really was little people. Now, my husband works in Afghanistan, so it's just me and Jade here. Nobody else in the house. So one day I was going to go, and I wasn't going to be back until the next morning. So I said, let's leave 1 cube of sugar out on the paper towel on the table, and we'll come back in the morning and see if it's here. So we left 1 cube of sugar, and we left. The next morning we came home, and that cube of sugar was gone. Now, we don't have animals in our house. We don't have pets. We don't have, any type of other, unwanted creatures in our house. So, I know that we have little people. So I buy cube sugar. I always leave some out. Sometimes it's gone, sometimes it's not. But little people work with the fairies. So if you have little people, you have fairies. If you have fairies, you have little people. It's kind of like a little community. I really don't know the relationship between the two, but I do know that they are always together. The little people don't do anything to harm your home. In fact, little people actually help take care of your home. So I always welcome, sometimes they call them house elves. Some people say, oh, I have a house elf. And that means that they're talking about they have a little person in their house. And usually if you have one, you have a family or a little community of them. I know we have several, because I see different ones in different places. And they're very fast, though. Very, very fast. I have not seen one just walk up to me like the fairies. Like, I physically see them. I have not seen little people like that. But I know that they're here, and they're most welcome. I don't mess with the attic. I don't even get the attic sprayed anymore. I don't even get the inside of the house sprayed. I used to get the pest man to come and spray the house. I don't even do that anymore because I don't want to harm the little people. I don't want to harm any of the animals that might be in here. If there's little spiders or something, I try to just pick them up and take them outside. I do not believe in harming, creatures. So, our insects, bugs, animals, none of that. So, but they're harmless, I try to, they will take little things that they need. Like, for example, they'll take a small piece of fabric that you don't even know that's gone. They'll take little pieces of fabric. They will take certain things in your kitchen that they can use. Sugar cubes, if you grow herbs and stuff, they'll take some of that. It's just little things here and there that they take. They're just like people, but smaller. But I don't know enough about little people because I can't get any closer to them. But it's been wonderful. The energy that the little people and the fairies bring to our home is amazing. So if you have fairies, especially fairies, if you have fairies in your home, your home will feel very, very, very tranquil, meaning it'll feel very comfortable, very inviting, very loving, and it just gives you a very good feeling. And sometimes I have people that come and they're just like, I don't know what it is about your house, Murphy. I just really love being here. I just feel so comfortable. And I know it's because of the fairies. My mother, who was very sick, came to stay with us here for 8 weeks. And during that 8 weeks, before she left, she felt so good. And I know that it was because of the energy of the fairies. I feel it myself. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing to have them. Okay, the second part of the video is our family. Number 1, what is your favorite holiday and why? Our family's favorite holiday is Halloween, of course, and Christmas. What do you do to celebrate it? That's question 2. For Christmas, we have a Christmas party every year. We invite our girls, the grandchildren, my sister, certain family members, and we have a big party full of food. We hand out presents, we make a fire, everybody visits. And this past year, we all wore pajamas, so it was really nice. It's just so much fun. It's something we do every year. We always have a Christmas party. And for Halloween, well, because we still have little children that like to trick or treat, we go take them to trick or treat. And then when I come home and we're done, Halloween is what we consider Samhain. Christmas is Yule. So for Samhain, which is Halloween, it's considered the witch's new year. So what I do is I come home and I write all of the things that I want to be rid of for this year. For example, if I say I no longer want to drink Coke, okay, I no longer want to drink sodas, I will write on there, I no longer want to drink sodas. And then I will burn it I'll make a fire and I'll burn it in the fireplace. And then once I burn all of the things that I want to get rid of in my life that I do not want to do anymore for the new year, then I sit and I start thinking about all the things that I want to invite into my life. I want to be better with money. I want to eat healthier. I want to get up earlier, whatever it is. And that's what I do for my Samhain ritual. When we don't have any more little children that want to go trick-or-treating, then we are going to start a tradition where we're going to have a huge Halloween party. We're all going to dress up in our witches' hats and our witch dresses, have a bonfire, have some drummers outside, some belly dancers, because I'm friends with all those type of people, and that's what we really want to do. But until we no longer have to go trick-or-treating, then we can't do that just yet. Last question, guys. I'm sorry it's such a long video. What are 2 traditions in our family? The first tradition that we have in our family is that we always celebrate Christmas together. It may not be right on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day because my husband works overseas. So when he comes home, which is usually a few days after Christmas, we have a huge family Christmas get-together. And that is a tradition that we do. Second tradition that we do for our family is that we have 5 girls, and so whenever anything happens, my girls can fight with each other, but at the end of the day, after everything is said and done, we always make sure that we come back together as a family to love one another support one another and be there for one another, because at the very end of the day, no matter who you have in your life, there's no one who's going to love you as much as your brothers and sisters. So that's a tradition. So thank you so much for letting me do this long video. I'm so sorry, but I could have so many things to say. I actually do have one more thing I want to show y'all, and then I am done. There is, if you guys are very interested in learning about fairies, there is a couple named Brian and Wendy Froud, F-R-O-U-D. Now, they work with the fairies, and they're both artists, and what they have done is they have written books and drawn, in those books they have paintings and drawings of what the fairies look like to them. And so if you might have some of these in your library. If not, go to a bookstore or to a public library and find them. Wendy and Brian Froud. And these are some of the photos that they have painted that they say that the fairies look like. Beautiful, right? Now you also see that's an elf. These are elves, and they work with the fairies. There's another beautiful fairy. And there's another with some elves there. And that's what I mean by different species and different types of fairies. But again, I would just, you guys, if you are interested in fairies, I really highly suggest, you know, you got summer coming up soon. Make some time, check out some books, watch videos, and learn about fairies. Make a fairy garden, invite the fairies into your life. It is such a wonderful, wonderful thing to believe in, and because it's actual real. So it's not just a girl thing, and it's not just a little kid thing. There are many, many grown men and women that work with fairies and elves and in little people and believe in them. There are many cultures that work with little people. Native Americans, which we are part of the Apache Lapan tribe, Native Americans believe in little people and fairies, especially little people. There are many Native American stories that deal with little people in their villages, and they do talk about the fairies and the elves. So there's just so much to cover, and like I said, I could talk for hours, but I know we have to keep this short. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I hope I answered a lot of your questions. If you have any more questions, please feel free to write them down, send them to me, or let Gia, know, and I will love to make another video for you guys talking more about fairies and little people if you want. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Garcia, for allowing me to do this, and love y'all all, and blessed be. Bye. Okay, you guys, here is my fairy house. Okay, so this is my fairy house in my little fairy village. I made this because I wanted them to have their own space, and it's in the middle, literally in the middle of my house. I love having it here where they get lots of sun. It's right across from, the sun, and they get all that. So what I did is, this is an old house, a playhouse. That was a child's playhouse, like a dollhouse, and spray painted it and bought all of this fake moss at a craft store. Put up some paper, like scrapbook paper, bought some fairy furniture, and created a little village. So let me show you. I turned the birds off, otherwise they chirp and chirp and chirp. So here is a little dining room table made out of leaves. I bought that at the craft store. Down here we have their bathroom, which is a little mat that's a leaf and a bathtub. And here's a little tree, another little mushroom house. Down here they have a bedroom. I'll go on the other side so you can see. It's a bedroom and another living room set. And I just put giant butterflies, put some lights on it. So yeah, here's all their little, all their little village. I put the two animals there. Gnomes are very popular with the Fae. And the fairies love animals and flowers and plants. So I put that there, and then here's my big fairy. She's quite beautiful. A little swing. Here's a little table here. 2 chairs, and that's lavender on the bottom. Put some honey for them, and there's a little letter on their table. There we have a little bunny, some more gnomes, just a little cute little village, a little cute pig. But that is my fairy village, and I keep that clean. Let's go on this other side so you can see the bedroom. Down here is their bedroom, so if you can see, it's a little bed. Isn't that cute? A little fairy back there. I put all the floor in, so it'd look like wood. Little light up tree. And this little acorn top, I filled it with lavender. So I have that there. And that is my little fairy house. Okay, so this is my fairy house and my little fairy village. I made this because I wanted them to have their own space, and it's in the middle, literally in the middle of my house. I love having it here where they get lots of sun. You know, it's right across from, you know, the sun, and they get all that. So what I did is, this is an old house, a playhouse. That was a child's playhouse, like a dollhouse, and spray painted it and bought all of this fake moss at a craft store. Put up some paper, like scrapbook paper, bought some fairy furniture, and created a little village. So let me show you. I turned the birds off, otherwise they chirp and chirp and chirp. So here is a little dining room table made out of leaves. I bought that at the craft store. Down here we have their bathroom, which is a little mat that's a leaf and a bathtub. And here's a little tree, another little mushroom house. Down here they have a bedroom. I'll go on the other side so you can see. It's a bedroom and another living room set. And I just put giant butterflies, put some lights on it. So yeah, here's all their little, all their little village. I put the two animals there. Gnomes are very popular with the Fae. And the fairies love animals and flowers and plants. So I put that there, and then here's my big fairy. It's quite beautiful. A little swing. Here's a little table here. 2 chairs, and that's lavender on the bottom. Put some honey for them, and there's a little letter on their table. There we have a little bunny, some more gnomes. Just a little cute little village, a little cute pig. But that is my fairy village, and I keep that clean. Let's go on this other side so you can see the bedroom. Down here is their bedroom, so if you can see, it's a little bed. Isn't that cute? A little fairy back there. I put all the floor in, so it'd look like wood. Little light up tree. And this little acorn top, I filled it with lavender. So I have that there. And that is my little fairy house.